All right, welcome back to another edition of Hook Agency's Beer and Content. I'm Seth Epstein, Hook Agency SEO Specialist, here with
Bryce Boylhoven, Content Strategist and Writer.
All right, let's crack these open. Cheers. Tastes like a Minnesota classic. All right, today we are drinking Surly, awesome local brewery. Today we're drinking Furious, which is one of their flagship beers. And I think it ties in really well with what we're going to talk about today, which is repurposing, reusing content that you've created. So we work a lot with construction companies and home services, and one of the things that they do is when they have an awesome new property open, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into just images and other assets, for that property, marketing things that they put together. And so it's not cheap to get these things done. So why constantly start fresh with your content if you have just gold sitting there that you can, re-promote, or you can find ways to repurpose, and just tying that back to Surly. I think, back in 2007, they released Surly Darkness. It hardly sold, and now year after year they keep going with this cool campaign around Surly Darkness. They have Darkness Day. It's now a multi-day event, and rather than coming up with some brand new cool event every year, they just get to build off of what worked well, continue that moving forward. So with that, I will turn it over to Bryce to talk through a few awesome examples of how we like to, repurpose, reuse, get more mileage out of awesome content that we just already have sitting there for us.
Yeah, so here at Hook, we work a lot with construction companies and home builders. So the hypothetical post we're going to look at is titled 15 Sustainable Materials that you should be using when building your home. So we're going to talk about how to re-promote, how to turn it into a new format, and then lastly, finding some new discovered uses for this post. So let's say that you wrote this post 6 or so months ago. So one way you could re-promote this post is through reaching out to vendors who use the materials that you talked about and that you use in your own builds. So that's a great way to increase traffic overall to your site, as well as to help out your SEO by getting links. Next, you can also post it on social media. So even if you promoted it in the past on social media, you can re-promote it again. So next, moving on to a new format, creating a video on an old blog is a great way to do that. So one way we could create a video from this post is to have designers who work for that home builder talk about each of the materials that are listed in the article, and talk about the benefits that they provide. So users of your website will really appreciate that, because anytime they can see an actual person behind the information they're receiving is extremely beneficial for them. It really helps you seem more authoritative as opposed to just them reading it in a blog. Another way to repurpose it, or for a new format, is to use a slideshow. So for this particular post, it's really easy to turn it into a slideshow. Each slide would be its own material, and you can once again talk about the benefits. The next way you can use a new format is through an infographic. So once again, this post really lends itself well to an infographic. You could talk about each of the materials, and then certain statistics or information based on the materials and the benefits they provide. So for example, let's say you're talking about structural insulated panels. That would be a perfect place to put kind of information based on the panels. So for example, you could dedicate a whole section of the infographic to speak on how these panels are 50% more energy efficient than traditional paneling. Next, for a new format, you can talk about a white paper. So get really in depth with the information and the statistics, the benefits of each material, turn it into a really long downloadable white paper that will be really beneficial for your audience. and that'll help bring conversions and just overall more traffic to your website. And last, we're going to talk about new discovered uses. So a great way to do that is through guest posts. So you might have to tweak the old article a little bit. So instead of 15 materials, maybe talk about 5 materials. And then you can reach out to web publishers who have similar target markets to your own. And then you can link back to your own website in this new kind of repurposed article. It's a great way, once again, to kind of build your SEO and to get more people to kind of view your content. And last, you can also create a Pinterest board. So Pinterest boards are a great way to kind of visualize your content. It's shareable, and it's a really good way to kind of increase the overall engagement on your website. And that's all we got.
Cool. All right, so yeah, hopefully that was helpful. We're gonna have a link. So speaking of repurposing, resharing, etc., depending on where you're seeing this, if you're not on our blog, we're gonna put a link in the description or a comment for you. Check out the blog where we go a bit in depth into a lot of very specific strategies for repurposing, resharing, finding new uses for content, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.